this house right now. Your time is over. Please stop. Get out.
I want you to picture something for me. Picture a woman standing in a kitchen she designed herself. A kitchen with a wide island she chose after 3 weeks of catalogs. Cabinets, she selected the color of shelves. She stocked item by item with her own money, on her own time, with her own hands. Now picture that same woman standing at the pantry in that kitchen, pressing a padlock shut, feeling the teeth of the key bite into the skin of her palm and not moving. Not crying, not yelling, not explaining herself to anyone. Just standing there, pressing metal into her palm and breathing. That woman was me. And if you think you already know where this story goes, I promise you don't. 'Cause I didn't either. Not when it was happening. Not when I was in the middle of it, still believing that love was enough to protect what I had built. Subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell because I am going to tell you everything. From the very beginning. And by the time we get to the end, I think you'll understand why I did what I did. And maybe if you're living something like this right now, you'll understand something about yourself too. Let's go back. I am a woman who builds things. I've been building things my whole life. I built my first business out of a folding table in a one-bedroom apartment in Atlanta with a laptop, a design software subscription, and a level of belief in myself that some people called arrogance until they saw what I could do. By the time Marcus Washington put a ring on my finger at a restaurant in Midtown on a Thursday evening in November, I had a 6-year-old interior design firm with 3 employees, a client waiting list, and a reputation that had started traveling past Georgia. Marcus worked in logistics management. Stable job, reliable man, the kind of laugh that could walk into a room before he did and already have everyone smiling. He was not wealthy and had never claimed to be. What he had was warmth, the deep, genuine kind that made you feel like the best version of yourself was already right there and just needed permission to relax. I loved that about him more than anything else. I loved how safe I felt just being near him. So when we started talking seriously about buying a house 18 months into our engagement, and the numbers came back the way numbers always do, honest, practical, with no interest in how romantic your intentions are, it became clear that my income, my savings, my investment account would be doing most of the lifting. And I didn't hesitate. I didn't sit Marcus down and make him feel small about it. I didn't lay it out like a scorecard. I pulled up the mortgage calculator on my laptop, turned the screen to face him and said, "I've got the down payment. You cover utilities and first-year property tax. Deal?" He looked at that screen for a long time. "Adrian," he said, "that's not even close to..." "I know," I told him, "but we're building something together. The numbers don't have to be equal for it to be ours." He kissed me so long that the laptop screen went dark. I submitted the offer 3 weeks later. It was accepted at 4:47 on a Wednesday afternoon. I was with a client when the email came in and I excused myself to step into the hallway, and I stood against that wall with my hand over my mouth and my eyes full. My name was on the title. My signature was at the bottom of the loan agreement. The house on Maple Ridge Drive. The one Marcus had pointed to from the car window on a Saturday afternoon and said, "That's where we're going to live one day," was mine. We moved in on a Saturday in October, and Marcus carried me over the threshold in this big, theatrical way that almost knocked us both into the doorframe. And I laughed until my stomach hurt. The ceilings were high. The floors were dark hardwood. The kitchen had the island I had always wanted, wide enough for 2 people to stand on either side of on a Sunday morning with music on, and nowhere to be. "Our house," Marcus said in the doorway, his arms still around me. "Our house," I said back. I meant it as a gift. I didn't know yet that a gift can be taken from you by the very people you gave it for. I handled the entire renovation myself. The contractor, the tile, the paint, the custom shelving in the master closet I designed and had built by a carpenter I trusted. Marcus picked the living room curtains and the color of the front door, and he was so proud of those 2 choices that I let him talk about them at every dinner party for the next 6 months. I let him feel like he had done more than he had. Not to manipulate him, out of love, out of the sincere, genuine desire to make him feel like this was his too, not just something I had built and let him move into. That was my first mistake. Not building the house, not being generous, but being so careful to protect his confidence that I forgot to protect my own position in the home I had created. My second mistake was believing that love between two people is armor, that what we had was strong enough to keep everything outside of it from getting in. It wasn't. Marcus's family was in Birmingham. His mother, Claudette Washington, was a woman who had raised her son with a particular understanding of how families operated. An understanding rooted in tradition and blood loyalty, and the idea that a son's house was an extension of his mother's reach, and that a daughter-in-law existed primarily to ensure that extension felt comfortable. I had met Claudette 3 times before the wedding. Each time was cordial. She brought food. She complimented the apartment. She called me baby. In a way, I chose to read as warmth because I wanted a good beginning with her. The wedding was beautiful, she cried. My mother cried harder. Marcus cried and denied it all through the reception, and I teased him about it all night. For the first year of our marriage, the house on Maple Ridge Drive was everything I had imagined it would be. Sunday mornings on the back porch, dinner parties with our friends, the kitchen island getting exactly the use I had planned for it. I had built the house well. I just hadn't protected it well enough. And that was the oversight that was about to cost me everything. Now, here is the part where most channels would ask you to drop the location you're watching the video from in the comments section, and no, I won't do that. As you can see, we are a small community of people here, less than 200 of us, and I greatly appreciate every one of you. And now here's where you would go to the comments section to tell me something instead of saying what location you're watching from. Tell me what you think should be added to the video to make it better and more enjoyable for you to watch. I reply to every single comment. Now, let's get back to the story. Claudette called on a Thursday evening in early March. I could tell from the first 3 seconds that this wasn't casual. There was something deliberate in the way she opened with baby, that word she used like a soft landing before the ask. I need to come stay with you and Marcus for a little while, she said. I've been having some health issues. Nothing serious, God willing, but I just need family around me. I pressed my fingers to my temple. Of course, Mama C, when are you thinking? I was thinking Sunday. This Sunday? The Lord works on his own schedule, baby. I said yes. Of course I said yes, because I loved Marcus, and Marcus loved his mother, and his mother said she needed family around her. What else was I supposed to say? After the call, I went upstairs and made the guest room myself. Fresh linens, new towels still in the packaging, a small vase of flowers on the nightstand because Marcus had mentioned once that his mother loved color. I was good at anticipating what people needed. It was a large part of what made me good at my work. I just hadn't accounted yet for people who would take that anticipation and never give anything back. The SUV pulled through our gate on Sunday afternoon, and I went outside with both arms ready, wearing my best hospitable smile, the one I kept polished for clients and family occasions alike. Claudette stepped down from the passenger side. Tall woman, broad-shouldered, silver locks, and an expression that told me she had already assessed the property from the moment they'd turned onto the street. She stood in the driveway and looked at the house. I looked at it from the foundation all the way up to the roofline. Marcus has done well, she said. Not you both, not what a beautiful home, not thank you for having me. My son has done well. I kept smiling. Welcome, Mama C, come on in. Then the back doors opened. Marcus's younger sister, Destiny, stepped out first, sunglasses on, rolling a suitcase that looked like it was packed for a season. Behind her came a cousin I had met once at the wedding. Then another cousin I had never seen before in my life. Then Aunt Rosalind, who was introduced with no context, no explanation of why she was there or how long she planned to stay. Then a woman named Miss Erlene, who apparently helped Claudette with her things and arrived carrying a full cooler of smoked turkey necks. I counted 6 people. I had prepared for one. I kept smiling. "Welcome, everyone. Y'all come on in. Make yourselves at home." I said that last part and immediately wished I could take it back. Because they did. Claudette moved through my house the way certain people move through spaces they've already decided belong to them. Her hands touched the walls. Her eyes moved across the artwork, the furniture, the kitchen. She stood in the living room and nodded slowly, the slow nod of someone deciding what they'd change. Marcus was glowing. He hugged his mother for a long time, and watching how young and unguarded and happy he looked in that moment, I felt something in my chest shift against my will. This was why I had done it. This was why I had stretched my finances and signed my name to a debt I was carrying, mostly alone. Because seeing him like that, so completely at ease, so full, it made something deep in me ache with love. I just didn't know yet what that love was going to cost me. Destiny was in the guest room within the hour. By evening, she was discussing whether the room beside the master bedroom was available, and by the end of the night, she had relocated there without asking anyone's permission. I said nothing. By the second week, the house had changed in a way I could feel in every room. The television in the living room was on at full volume from 7 in the morning until after midnight. The kitchen was always occupied and never cleaned up after. Destiny moved from the guest room into the larger room beside the master without asking. And the pantry I had stocked carefully and specifically the good olive oil, the specialty spices, the Turkish honey Marcus gave me for my birthday that I had been rationing because it was the kind of thing you want to last, was being treated like a communal grocery store. I noticed. I track things. Numbers are my first language and patterns are my second. I opened my phone one Sunday night after everyone was in bed and started adding it up. Extra groceries, doubled utility bills, the specialty coffee Claudette required every morning, the catfish Destiny requested twice a week, the sparkling water Aunt Rosalind said she needed for her stomach, the paper towels and cleaning supplies and toilet paper disappearing at a rate that genuinely defied math. I got to the bottom of the list. $3,400 in 1 month. Marcus's contribution to the household, $400. The same amount he always put in, because his salary hadn't changed and his understanding of what I was actually spending had never been fully updated, because I had never fully shown him, because I had been protecting his pride. I put my phone down and looked at the ceiling for a long time. I had built this house, I was paying the mortgage on this house, and now I was funding a full-scale extended family residence while Marcus said things like, "This is what family is, and you can't put a price on being together." That night, I turned to him in the dark. I kept my voice even. Careful. The way I talk when I'm managing a difficult client situation. "Marcus, we need to talk about the household expenses." "What about them?" He was half asleep, his voice loose and unbothered. "I'm running this house at over $3,000 a month right now with everyone here. You're putting in $400. That gap isn't sustainable." A pause, and then he turned over, and I could feel, even in the dark, even without seeing his face, the shift in the room. "Adrienne, these are my people." "I know they're your people. I'm not going to put a price on feeding my family." "I'm not asking you to put a price on anyone. I'm asking you to help me carry what I'm carrying, or have a conversation with your mother about a timeline." "You're my wife," he said, and there was something in how he said it, the way the words landed, like there was supposed to be a complete answer, a definition, a closed door that tightened something in my chest. This is what wives do. I stared at the ceiling. The ceiling stared back. I said nothing else that night. But I thought a great many things. Now, hold on a second, my dear, just a quick moment. If you're still here, it truly means a lot to me. But here's something that surprised me. Almost 98% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. 98. It's like enjoying something and never saying a word about it. So here's my small request. Tap the subscribe button. It's completely free and it just means you won't miss what comes next. And if you've enjoyed this, leave a like as well. It really helps more than you think. Thank you for staying with me. Now let's continue. By the 4th week, I had developed a system. I'm good at systems. When the environment around me gets unpredictable, I respond with structure. I track. I document. I keep my reactions measured and my emotions off the floor where someone might step on them. But every system has a breaking point. Mine came in layers. The first layer was Destiny's guest. I came home from a client meeting on a Wednesday evening, heels still on, laptop bag on my shoulder, the day sitting heavy on me, and there was a man I had never seen in my life sitting on my cream sofa. His shoes were still on. A plate from my kitchen was in front of him, and he was laughing with Destiny like he'd been coming to that house for years. I stood in the doorway and took a breath. The man saw me first and straightened up. Destiny turned and looked at me, and did not flinch. Adrian, this is Devin. He's a friend. I set my bag down on the floor, slowly, carefully. Good evening, I said to Devin. Then I looked at Destiny. Can I see you in the kitchen? In the kitchen, Destiny leaned against my counter with her arms folded like I was the one who'd inconvenienced her. What's the problem? You brought someone I don't know into my home without telling me. I live here. You are a guest here. There is a difference. She narrowed her eyes at me. My brother owns this house. I have every right to bring whoever I want. I looked at her for a moment. Ask him to leave, and from now on, if you want to have visitors here, you let me know first. She laughed. Let you know you're not my mother. No, I said. I'm the woman whose house you're sleeping in for free. Ask him to leave. Devin was gone within 20 minutes. But before I had even finished washing my face, Marcus was at the bedroom door. Why did you embarrass my sister in front of her company? I took my earrings off at the mirror and watched his reflection. I asked an unknown man to leave my living room. That's not embarrassment, that's a boundary. She's family. She doesn't need your permission to breathe in this house. She needed my permission to bring a stranger into it. She didn't ask. You're being difficult. I turned from the mirror and faced him directly. Marcus. There was a man I had never met eating food I bought, sitting on furniture I paid for in a house with my name on the deed. What would you have liked me to do? He opened his mouth, closed it. You always bring it back to money. Because money is what's keeping this house standing. He walked out. I turned back to the mirror. My reflection looked tired. The second layer was the wigs. I opened my wardrobe one Thursday and found the shelf where I kept my two best pieces bare. A dark brown lace front I had paid $1,800 for. A honey-toned custom unit I'd had colored specifically for my skin tone, both of them gone. I didn't panic. I checked behind the storage boxes. I checked the bathroom hooks. I stood in the middle of my room and felt something cold move through my chest because I already knew exactly where they were. I found Destiny getting ready to go out, dressed up, perfumed, phone in hand, and wearing my dark brown wig. She had even installed it properly. Take it off, I said from the doorway. I was going to bring it back. Take it off. Adrian, it's just a wig. Between those two pieces, I spent over $2,000. Money you didn't ask about, didn't mention, didn't even let me know you were touching. Take it off and put it back where you found it. She removed it slowly, made a full production of her irritation, and dropped it on the dressing table like it was garbage. I picked it up, looked at it for a moment, and walked back to my room. I sat on the edge of the bed. I was not going to cry. I refused to cry over a wig in my own house. But it wasn't about the wig. I knew that. I knew it was about the pattern, the ease of the taking, the complete and total assumption that what was mine was available, was communal, was owed to everyone in that house simply because I had been generous enough to open my door. The third layer was Claudette at breakfast. She was talking to Aunt Rosalind on a Saturday morning, and I heard her from the hallway. She was going on about how a real wife kept her home warm, how some women were so busy running around chasing careers that they forgot what a kitchen was for, how God designed women to be present and nurturing and available when their husbands came home. She said it to the ceiling. But everyone in that room knew who it was meant for. I stood in the hallway for a moment with my keys in my hand. Then I went to the grocery store. I bought 3 pounds of fresh catfish, good vegetables, the expensive palm oil, the real butter. I came home and stood in that kitchen for 3 solid hours and cooked a pot of food that smelled like everything I was feeling but could not yet say. I set the table. I called everyone to eat. Claudette ate 2 plates and helped herself to a third. She did not say thank you. Did not say it was good. Did not look in my direction once through the entire meal, except to reach past me for the hot sauce. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table, whispered, "That was perfect, babe." I smiled at him. I still loved him. That was the most complicated part of everything I was living through. I still loved Marcus deeply, genuinely, with the same part of me that had believed him completely in that doorway on moving day. I just didn't know yet how to hold that love at the same time as the truth of what his silence was costing me. I was still trying to figure that out when Sunday came. And Sunday changed everything. Claudette called a family meeting. Sunday evening after dinner, when the light in the living room was low and golden and the kind of scene that in another life would have been peaceful. "Let's pray together as a family," she said. "Let's cover this house." I sat beside Marcus on the sofa and folded my hands in my lap and bowed my head. I was willing to pray. I believed in it. I had said more prayers in the past 4 weeks than in the previous year. Most of them some version of "Lord, give me patience and please don't let me say something I can't take back." I bowed my head. The prayer started. And then the prayer stopped. Something shifted in Claudette's voice. It became deliberate in a particular way, the way a person's voice sounds when they've been rehearsing what they're about to say and are finally delivering it. "I want to introduce someone to this family," she said. I opened my eyes. A young woman stepped out of the hallway. She was in her mid-20s, soft-featured. Her eyes were on the floor and her hands were folded in front of her with the practiced stillness of someone who had been told to be small and had spent time learning how. She was wearing a floral wrap dress, and she stood in the middle of my living room like someone waiting for a verdict. I looked at her. I felt the air in the room change. Claudette's voice was calm and biblical. "God has been speaking to me. Marcus needs a woman in this home who is fully present, fully available, a woman who will be here when he comes home, who will not be too tired, who will give this family children and peace." She looked directly at me when she said the last word. "I have prayed. I have consulted. This is Layla, and Layla will be Marcus's second wife." The living room went completely silent. I turned to Marcus. He was looking at the floor. "Marcus," I said. My voice came out quiet, quieter than I expected. "Look at me." He looked up. "Did you know about this?" He exhaled through his nose. "Mama means well." "Did you know?" He said nothing. His silence was the answer. I stood up slowly. I looked at Layla, this young woman with her eyes still on the floor, clearly more of a piece on someone else's board than a willing player in this. In another moment, in another version of myself, I might have felt sorry for her. She was being used. Anyone with eyes could see that. But I didn't have room for that right now. I looked at Claudette. I looked at Destiny in the corner, arms folded, watching with the specific hunger of someone who had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Then I walked upstairs without a word. I sat in the dark of my bedroom. I thought about that doorway 4 months ago. Marcus's hands on my face. Our house. How completely I had meant those words when I said them back to him. I thought about the folder at the bottom of my wardrobe. The title deed. My name on it. My signature at the bottom of the mortgage agreement. My account that had been debited every month for over a year before we'd even moved in. I thought about every dinner I had cooked without one word of thanks. Every expense I had absorbed without complaint. Every boundary I had drawn while being told I was being difficult. Every night I had lain beside Marcus and chosen to believe in him instead of listening to what his silence was actually telling me. And then something in me went still. Not cold, not broken still. I picked up my phone. I made 2 calls. The first was to my attorney. The second was to a property developer who had been leaving me voicemails for 3 months about a project in the area and whom I had been too settled to call back until now. When I came back downstairs, my face was different. I know, because I felt it. Something had settled in me that had not been there an hour before. Not anger, not grief, clarity. The way a storm organizes itself right before it becomes something that can't be ignored. I sat across from Marcus, who was alone in the living room. Layla had been guided to the guest room. Claudette and Destiny had gone to the back of the house with the quiet satisfaction of people who believed they had already won. I need you to answer me one question, I said. Whose house is this? We're married. Whose name is on the title deed? Silence. Whose savings paid the down payment? Whose account has the bank been debiting every single month? Whose signature is at the county recorder's office? He looked at me. Where are you going with this? To bed, I said. But I need everyone downstairs at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's something I want to show the family. I was already dressed when Marcus woke up. He found me at the dining table at 7:45. I had a manila folder in front of me and a cup of tea. I hadn't touched. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't looking at anything in particular. I was sitting there with the particular stillness of a woman who has already made every decision she needs to make and is simply waiting for the rest of the world to arrive at the same place. Adrian. He sat across from me. His voice was careful. Can we talk before everyone comes down? We can talk now, or we can talk when they're here. Either way, the conversation ends the same. He reached across the table and covered my hand with his. I'm sorry about last night. My mother, she doesn't think before she acts sometimes. I'll handle it. Layla will go back today. I promise. I looked at his hand on mine. I remembered when that hand was the safest place in the world for me, when I could reach for it in any dark room and immediately feel less alone. I turned my palm up and laced my fingers through his, and I looked at him with something that wasn't quite anger and wasn't quite love but lived in the narrow, painful place between the two. Marcus, I said softly, when I was building this house, I used to call you from the contractor's office. Do you remember? He nodded. I described what each room was going to look like. I told you the master bedroom faces east so the morning light comes in first. I told you the kitchen had to have an island because I wanted us to cook together on Sunday mornings. I planned every corner of this place with you in my mind. I looked at the folder. And then your family walked in and treated it like a hotel. And you watched. You watched your mother eat my food and question my worth at my own table. You watched your sister take my things and walk around like she owned the floor she was standing on. And then your mother walked a girl into my living room to replace me and called it God's will. My voice didn't waver. It was the flatness that was devastating. And you looked at the floor. I was never going to let that actually... You already let it happen, Marcus. The moment you said nothing, that was the moment. He pulled his hand back slowly. And then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Claudette first in her house dress, unhurried and confident. Destiny behind her, phone already in hand. And then Layla, quiet as a shadow, sitting herself at the far end of the table with her eyes still down. Claudette looked at the folder. What is this? Are we signing papers this morning? Yes, I said. I opened the folder. I placed the title deed in the center of the table. No explanation, no speech. I laid it flat so that everyone at my table could see it clearly. Claudette picked it up. Her eyes moved across it slowly. She put it down and looked at me with an expression that was working very hard to appear dismissive. What is this supposed to mean? It means the house belongs to me. My name, my purchase, my property. You're a married woman. Whatever you own belongs to the family. That's not what Georgia law says. I'm not talking about law. I'm talking about what is right. I leaned forward. I kept my voice even calm. That was what made it land. You came into my house and ate my food and used my things and told me nothing here was mine. You brought a young woman into my living room to take my husband and you called it God's will. You sat at my table and made me feel like the visitor. I tapped the deed. So I'm showing you whose home this actually is. Not to fight, just so we are all completely clear on the facts. Destiny slapped the table. Adrian, this is wickedness. After everything Marcus has done for you. Name one thing, I said. I turned to her slowly. Name one thing Marcus has done for this house. One bill paid in full, one installment, one receipt with his name on it. Take your time. Destiny opened her mouth and closed it. Marcus had gone to the window. His back was to all of us. His shoulders were carrying something heavy and visible, something I recognized the specific weight of a man seeing himself clearly for the first time in a while. Claudette's voice dropped low and dangerous. You want to use paper to divide a family, to humiliate my son in his own home? He has no home, Mama see. I said it without cruelty, and that, I think, was what made it so much worse. I'm sorry that hurts, but I will not sit here and be told I own nothing in a place I built from the ground up. The table was completely quiet. And then Layla, who had not spoken a single word since she arrived, looked up. Our eyes met for just a moment, hers and mine, and something passed between us in that second that had nothing to do with Marcus or the deed or any of it. It was more like recognition. Two women who had both been handed roles in a story they hadn't written for themselves. I looked away first. I closed the folder. I'm going to need everyone who is not on this title deed to have their things packed and ready by 5 o'clock today. I made the call at 9. By 10:15, a moving truck was backing through my driveway. Claudette came out of the house screaming, "What is this, Marcus? Come and see what your wife is doing." The movers worked with the efficiency of people who have been paid well and given clear instructions. They didn't ask questions. They didn't hesitate. The cream sofa went first, then the love seat, then the dining table and the chairs I had spent 3 weeks choosing, then the appliances, the stainless steel refrigerator I had shipped from a specialty retailer in Charlotte, the chest freezer, the washer and dryer I had installed before we even moved in. I stood in the driveway with a clipboard, voice level, instructions precise. I had dressed practically, hair pulled back, flat shoes, light jacket. I was not performing anything. I was working. Destiny grabbed my arm. You cannot do this. You cannot just take everything. I looked down at the hand on my arm, then back up at her face. Remove your hand from me. Something in my eyes made her step back. I'm not removing anyone's personal belongings, I said, loud enough for everyone in that driveway to hear. Your clothes, your bags, whatever you personally brought into this house, I am not touching any of it. But everything I bought leaves with me. You're all welcome to the structure. I looked toward the front door where Marcus had appeared. I was told it belongs to the man of the house. He can furnish it however he likes. Claudette sat down in the middle of my driveway and began to wail. God will punish you, Adrian. You will not know peace. Mama. Marcus's voice cut through the driveway like something sharp and sudden. Everyone went still. He had never spoken to his mother that way. Not once. Not in anyone's memory. Even Claudette knew it, which was why she went quiet. He walked down the front steps and stood between his mother and me. He looked exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. "Enough," he said. Claudette stared at him. I said enough. He stood there and did not move until the driveway understood. The movers finished by 2:30. I directed the last items to the truck and handed the foreman his envelope. I walked back inside the house, echoing now, wider and emptier, light falling differently on the bare floors, and I went upstairs. I didn't slam anything. I didn't cry. I opened my wardrobe and pulled out a suitcase. Not everything, just enough, the things I would need in the short term. My important documents were already in my work bag. My laptop was already in the car. I was folding clothes quietly, methodically, when Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Where are you going?" "Somewhere quiet for a little while." "Adrienne." His voice broke on my name, just slightly, just enough. I kept folding. "I know I failed you," he said. "I know I stood there and I let it go too far. I kept telling myself I was keeping the peace, but what I was actually doing was choosing my own comfort over you, over and over again. I know that." I stopped folding. I didn't turn around. "I kept telling myself you were strong enough to handle it," he said. "That you didn't need me to step in because you could always fight for yourself. And I used your strength as an excuse not to be strong. I used it as permission to be absent." He crossed the room and stood behind me. When he put his hand on my shoulder, I didn't pull away. But I didn't turn to face him either. "I'm not asking you to forget any of it," he said. "I'm just asking you not to go." I turned around. His eyes were red. I had seen Marcus cry twice in our marriage. Once at his grandfather's funeral and once the night I showed him the loan approval letter for this house. I looked at him now and felt the full complicated weight of loving someone who had let you down so completely and still not being finished with them. "You let your mother try to bring another woman into this house," I said. "And you sat there. You looked at the floor. I cooked and I paid and I kept quiet and I absorbed everything. And you handed me to them like I was something you could afford to lose." "I know." His voice was barely there. "And I'm sorry. I know sorry isn't enough, but I don't know what else I have right now except that I love you and this house means nothing without you in it." I looked at him for a long time. Then I closed my suitcase. "Your mother and your sister leave today. Layla leaves today, not tomorrow, today. And we talk, properly, not just the two of us, nobody else in the conversation. And Marcus." I stepped close to him, close enough that he could have kissed me, but I tilted my head and looked up at him with eyes that had seen everything and were still deciding what to do with what they'd seen. "If you ever go quiet on me like that again, if you ever stand in a room while someone disrespects me and finds something interesting to look at on the floor, I will not call a moving truck next time." He held my gaze. "I will simply leave, and I won't come back." He nodded. He pulled me toward him slowly, and I let him. My face against his chest, his arms around me, the two of us standing in a half-empty room in a house I had built and almost lost to the very people I had opened the door for. He kissed the top of my head, my temple, and then I tilted my face up and he kissed me properly, slow and searching and full of everything neither of us had been able to say for months. By 5 o'clock my driveway was quiet in a different way. Claudette and Destiny loaded themselves into the SUV. Claudette walked past me with her chin raised and her house dress rustling and got in the car and faced forward without a word. Destiny dragged her own suitcase, didn't ask for help. A quiet woman I had never met came at noon to collect Layla, a small sedan. A nod exchanged between us, and Layla walked to the car with her eyes largely on the ground, and they drove away. The gate closed. Marcus and I stood in the driveway alone for the first time in over a month. The evening light was coming in low and golden, stretching long shapes across the driveway and through the open front door. The house was emptier than it had been. The living room echoed a little. The kitchen looked strange without the refrigerator. But it was mine again. Really mine. The way it had been in the doorway on moving day before the world rushed in. Marcus reached for my hand. I let him take it. We stood there without talking, and the silence between us was not empty. It was the kind of silence that is full of everything you've been through with someone, full of the specific weight of choosing to stay. I walked through the house room by room. I ran my hand along the kitchen island. I stood at the east-facing window in the master bedroom and watched the last of the light leave the trees. I stood in the doorway of the guest room and felt nothing like grief. I was a designer. I knew how to take a space that had been used for one thing and make it into something better. Marcus found me there. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That I'm going to turn this into a home office." He nodded. He came and stood beside me. "Adrian," he said, "I've been thinking about what you said, about how I used your strength as an excuse to be absent." I waited. "I want to do better. Actually do better, not just say it." He looked at me. "I want to put my name on the mortgage. I want to contribute in a real way. I want you to actually feel like this is ours." I looked at him. "We can talk to the bank about restructuring," I said. "But Marcus, I need you to understand something first." "What?" "This isn't just about money. The money I can handle. What I can't handle is being invisible. Being the maid, the accountant, and the target all at the same time while the man who is supposed to see me is too busy managing everyone else's comfort to look in my direction." "I hear you. I need you to choose me. Not with speeches, not dramatically, in the small moments, in the room where it's happening. When someone says something that isn't right, I need to look across that room and see you saying something back. That is all I'm asking." "I can do that. I'm going to hold you to it." "I know you will." He almost smiled. "I'd be worried if you didn't." I studied him for a moment. Then I reached up and put my hand on the side of his face, the way you touch someone. "You're choosing again after a season of doubt," and he leaned into it like something that had been waiting a long time to be still. It took 3 months for the house to feel like itself again. Not because we were fighting, we weren't. The air between Marcus and me after that Sunday was different than it had been in a long time. Honest in a way that required more space and more care, but was ultimately easier to breathe in. It took 3 months because healing is not one decision. It's a series of smaller ones made every day in the ordinary moments when it would be simpler not to bother.